Charlie Chaplin said that life is a comedy and a tragedy. It's a tragedy when we look at it from our first person perspective, when we're the one right here in the moment experiencing it. But it's a comedy when we back up and we look at it from a third person perspective. Now, he didn't say it quite like that. I'm paraphrasing it. But when you think about it, I think he's a genius in recognizing that that is the way it is. So when we take it personally and we're experiencing it in the moment, we tend to react, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively, a lot of times negatively. And of course, that sets us on the road to a frequency repeat, if you will. So understanding that this is out there is the illusion. In here is the production crew, the equipment, the projector, everything. The screen is out here, but everything else is in here. So that means we are, the producers, the actor, the writers, the actors, actually, the writers, the scenery, the script, everything. So when we see it out there and we can look at it from a third person perspective as the director. Now, if we're in the first person perspective, we're going to be one of the actors on the stage, probably the protagonist, the main star of the show, if you will. And so we're in there and we're experiencing contrasts of some sort. And believe me, there's always contrast. There just always is. So we might as well, accept that. And if you look at any good motion picture, there's just tons of contrast in there. There's tons of choices and opportunities, one right after the other, So maybe they're trying to get the gun from the guy and it falls on the ground and then it gets kicked over into the corner and then you run over to try to get that and he pulls you back. And then your partner's trying to get it and she pushes it somehow or trips or gets knocked out. And then anyway, you get the point, right? Life is like that. And so the question is, do we want to be the protagonist, the main character in the play, or do we want to be the director? The director's third party. He's like what Charlie Chaplin said. He's looking at it from a third party perspective. So to him, it's kind of a comedy. Probably for the protagonist on the stage, it's a little bit terrifying. It's a tragedy in many ways. So, but the director now can say, wow, okay, I see how this played out. And I think for better effect, if we switch things around. Now, this is you being the director of your own life. And so you just saw it acted out and you didn't really like it because maybe you jumped into the character on the stage for a few minutes and you said, oh, this is very uncomfortable. I don't care for it, or it's painful in some way. I think I'd rather have something more pleasurable. And we're going to do that no matter what. We're going to move to the pleasure or the pain. Or we're going to move away from the pain and toward the pleasure automatically. So now you're the director. You can say, let's change that scenery. Let's wind it back. Let's rewind the tape. And we're going to tape over that and change it. Can we do that in our life? Well, probably. Why? Because we've already acknowledged at some point, if you've been watching any of my videos, that anything is possible. And if you say, yeah, but not for me, then you don't believe anything is possible. But if you say anything is possible, and you say, I swear anything is possible, that means for you too. And so you might as well accept that, and let's just skip past that corollary where you think, oh gosh, no, it can't be possible for me, little old me. Let's move away from that and get into anything is possible. So yeah, let's rewind the tape and redo that. Change the past. Let's change the past and bring it into the now, the new changes, and bring that new stuff into now. Because if we're looking at the past and we don't like it, and we're likely to repeat that. And now we're on that negative vortex cycle we don't want to be on. So, as Charlie said, from the first person perspective, it's a tragedy. From the third person, it's a comedy. Maybe we're in the first person too much, and we want to get into the director mode. I'm just bringing some awareness to this, all of it, and saying, we have a choice, and we are the power. I just did a video on we're the power. We are the power, all of it. Accept that, use it. Don't take my word for anything I say here. This is just for entertainment purposes. I don't know anything. I don't know what I'm talking about. So if you're listening to me, maybe you should have your head examined. That's what 99% of the population will tell you. You can listen to them, or you can listen to me. Get your head examined and decide anything's possible, and try this. That's my whole point about what I was just rambling about. Try this. Try these things. See what happens. Change a future thing that you're thinking about. Change the events of what you think might happen to a different situation, or look in the past. And you say, well, this happened in the past, it's likely to happen in the future. Why don't you get rid of that idea and put a different idea? Well, this is what happened in the past. I think what I'd like to have happen in the future is this instead of that. And play that in your mind, because you know what Neville Goddard says. He says, thoughts don't recede into the past over there. They jump out into the future to create your next reality. With that alone, that's a good place to start testing things. So you create these thoughts now, relax, go about your life, forget about them, and then pretty soon you'll look up and you'll say, holy moly, I just did that. I just thought that. Does this work? That would be the next question. I've usually asked myself, did I actually do that? And then you say, well, let's try it again. And then you do it again. Maybe it works and maybe it didn't. You say, well, now it kind of worked, but it didn't really work as good as it did last time. Why? Because you had doubts about it. You were looking for it. Now you're kind of like more aware of it, and you're sprinkling in all these little doubts. Where before you just tried it, you throw it out there, you let the universe do its thing without your meddling with it, and bam, there it was. So now you're actually more aware. That's a great thing. But also be aware that when you're aware like that, you're likely messing it up a little bit. I mean, when I say messing it up, you're just adding different vibrational components that you don't want there. And recognize that as well as being, you're the power. You are the power. I am the power. And the rest of this stuff is illusion. And so make it a game. Make it a game of playing with the illusion, testing the theory, have some fun. Don't get caught up in the tragedy part of this. Let's make it a comedy, or at least some fun, whatever, however you want to do it.